Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. I am your host. We are broadcasting high above Civic Center Station, and tonight, turning back the clock to when Atlanta was known as Terminus, serving as the connection point for all trains and travelers. The terminal is open tonight for a well-traveled guest. What is your name, and where are you calling from?
So my name is Josh Sarfity, and I am calling from Eagan, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis.
Well, if you look up Josh Sarfity on the interwebs, it will show that we're both from the same town of Teaneck, New Jersey. Shameless plug, if you are a highwayman or a highwaywoman from a graduating class that maybe is doing a reunion, a great way to promote is taking part in the W.E. Brown questionnaire. It worked last year to some extent, so shameless plug. I extended my extended and exercised my journalism degree and did a Google search. And I brought up a Club 24 members. It's a list on a Sports Road Trips blog, and the link will be in the description. Do you know anything about being a ballpark chaser? Because it's got you listed. I don't know if you recognize it. It's got you listed there.
I do because on March 31st, I will be the 29th member to join that fairly exclusive club, which is seeing a home game in each arena in the four major sports in North America: basketball, baseball, hockey, and football, of which there are 124. So I am very much looking forward to the last day of this month when I will join that club.
There's so many there's so many questions I have, but I mean, this you know what? I'll start off with so what's your favorite? Not even your favorite. What's in the top five? What's the top five? Like I got to see this home game against this, what's there? Like you kind of think like this it's part of this, but this was special.
So the most special game that I saw in person had to be Game Three of the 2015 World Series at Citi Field. Just the I know we were down 2-0, and obviously that was the only game that we won. But just the atmosphere of finally attending a World Series game, by far and away all the games I have seen, that is without a doubt the most special game I've ever been to. It was just an unbelievable experience, and the fact that the Mets won Game Three of 2015 made it even that much more special, despite the fact that we didn't win the series that year. Because
So, oh, go ahead. No, I was gonna
actually,
say,
because I'm ribbed by one of my friends. I've yet to see a no hitter. That remains an elusive goal of mine.
well, yeah,
Um,
that's tough though because you also kind of have to. I mean, because anybody could throw a no hitter. That's you
in fact, it's almost a running joke because it seems that in the majority of the games I go to, both teams get leadoff singles.
know. So
So
it's not gonna be that
you know,
tonight. So you're looking for watch for a no hitter. There is the Facebook group, which is I believe there's a Facebook group called Ballpark Chasers or Stadium Chasers, I believe it is. But I
yes,
said Stadium Chasers because Kylie and Joel stole the thunder on it, grabbing the URL thestadiumchasers.com. It was probably back in like 2017. The last post was from like almost 3 years ago. They were at Gonzaga's McCarthy Athletic Center. But it's the ideal URL. The owners, they had five rules. Rule number one was never leave a game early. Rule
mm-hmm.
number two, different playing surface, different stadium. Rule number three, don't be too proud to ask someone to take your picture. Rule number four, and always offer to return the favor. And rule number five is have fun.
and
Do you have any rules? I was gonna
so
say would
so I will definitely say that I subscribe to all five of those rules. The most important is never leave early. That is definitely a cardinal rule that I stand by. Is do not leave early.
end of clock. Yeah. Okay.
End of clock, last pitch, final out. Uh, you paid for your seat. I no reason to worry about beating traffic.
That's a very
Um,
fair point.
Other than that, I don't have. For the longest time, I was only sit in your ticketed seat rule. That was a
Interesting.
kind of a hard and fast rule of mine. But lately, especially in baseball, as I've made more friends who also go to a lot of games, sometimes if the stadium's not that crowded, I'll break that rule so I could go sit next to them, even though that might not be the ticket that I bought.
Hmm.
But my other personal rule is if the Mets or in football, if the Giants are not playing, where I don't
Hmm.
have a rooting interest, I don't wear team colors. So if I'm at some random, Red Sox Blue Jays game, I'm not showing up in my Mets shirt. So
I
that's
see.
that's kind of my rule. Neutral
No.
game, neutral clothes.
Okay. It's your journey.
Yeah.
Um, so having seen your Facebook page and seeing all the pictures, you said 49 states, 40, no, 40, was it 48 countries, 50
50
states?
states, 49 countries.
49 countries. So that's well traveled indeed. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the stadiums or the world traveling? Which obviously, but
The stadiums came first. I started in earnest going to other baseball games. Summer of 2001 was my first far trip. Prior to that,
mm,
I had only seen games in New York. I saw, I think, one game in Philly, uh, one game up in Boston. I never went really far for
yeah,
a game. And then in the summer of 2001, I took a road trip and I saw the Mets in Houston in the brand new stadium in Houston. And
what was it
that
called back
def
then?
that definitely, kind of unleashed the beast, so to speak. And every summer after that, I would plan a trip that would get me two or three more stadiums. And then fortunately, the older I got and a little more money each year, maybe five stadiums, maybe six stadiums,
Yeah.
however long I could stretch a dollar on a road trip. I tried to get as many stadiums in as I could until I saw them all.
Yeah. Well, I I hope I could continue, and I have more questions, but hopefully you'll travel back to the terminal after you've unofficially joined, because you said the Club 124, is it Club 125? What I was going to say, because there's another stadium in there now, right? Is there an added one, or
So no,
what is the absolute number?
it was 123. It became 124 a few years ago when the Seattle Kraken joined the NHL.
Okay, so that's what
So
it was.
so what will happen now, for example, uh, the next new stadium will be this football season when the Buffalo Bills open a new stadium.
So then it will become 125.
Right. So no, because really it's just you
Just
kind of drop one. So I'll go down to
I see.
123, and then when I get back to
I see.
Buffalo, I'll go back to 124.
Interesting.
Because when you
Okay.
say 124, it only signifies active. So the only time it'll go to a higher number is when there's a true expansion.
Interesting. So there's specifically 124 possible locations so far as the home teams for all the.
Correct, because you have 30 baseball, 30 basketball, 32 football, and 32 hockey.
All right.
And so it
Well,
counts separately. Like one of the rules you mentioned earlier, different playing field, technically different stadium. So, take Madison Square Garden. The Knicks
mhm,
play there, the Rangers play there, but in the Club 124 chase, you would have to go twice, one for
yeah.
each one of those teams.
Okay. I, as I said, I could continue on this for a little bit, but I did I've done some form of Mets up for the past few seasons, and this year is no exception. despite absolute fascinating conversation I could have. Last week, I went over the starting eight around the diamond because, as you said, if you have missed it, you followed the Mets for most of this. You saw the Mets in Houston. You've seen the Mets in various places. Are you going to go see the Mets in 3 weeks on opening day with Freddie Peralta on the mound at Citi Field?
No, I'm going to be there for the Sunday game that weekend.
Okay. So I don't know which of the six starting pitchers you're going to see, but those are the ones I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Uh, but before, I is there anything that you'd like to say either about your journeys or about this current Mets team or anything? Feel free to take the floor. I feel like this is a
So
ISO.
I do still incorporate the Mets into various different baseball goals. So
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, when I saw the Mets at the new stadium in Arlington, Texas, that allowed me to say I have seen the Mets in every active stadium. And
Okay.
my goal this year is I'm trying to say that I've seen the Mets win in every active stadium.
That is highly specific that you have no power
Oh
in
yes,
Mets.
but believe it or not, I'm down to three. I need to see them win in
Okay.
Seattle, win in Tampa, and win in the new stadium in the Bronx. So
Okay.
I have trips already mapped out for all three of those series, so I could try to achieve that goal this year.
All right.
So all
Wow.
because I feel like one of the most popular questions I get, especially as I talk about Club 124 and the fact that I'm on the cusp of getting there, is, oh, well, what are you going to do next? So I'm always trying to keep, even if they're weird or obscure or highly specific, I always try to keep something in the back of my mind because it actually helps me plan a trip. So
So, like I said, I don't want to go off, but so it's pro. It's all pro. So
all
not.
pro. I never got into minor league ball. I know a lot of people love it,
Mhm.
but even college ball, I don't
I mean, like not. I'm
go
not
out of I
saying in
don't go out
terms
of
of
my
like.
way to see minor league games or college games.
Well, I was in terms of saying. I guess so. As far as seeing the monuments of it, that's kind of what I almost see. Because like you see, if you've gone around, you've seen Dodger Stadium. Yeah, I mean, you've seen Fenway Park. These are they're obviously local to you, but those are monumental sort of places. Soldier Field, Lambeau. It's like those are Mile High Stadium. Like I can start thinking of all the different places that are kind of, I don't want to say symbolic, but you know what I mean, like are sort of
But they're iconic.
monuments.
You
Yeah,
know, Wrigley. They're definitely iconic places. Um,
as well as the many others. But
mhm.
as far as wondering if that is also the case for something like, well, I see that's the well, wait a second. Um, what is it? USC because they've got the Coliseum. So have you been to the Coliseum? Did it
No,
actually
I
have a
have
game?
not. And people will
Okay.
say the same thing about seeing a game at Notre Dame or
Mm,
Michigan or Ohio State. And I know some of the people like on that Club 124 list, they do kind of extend to college because those kind of matchups. Or if you're on the basketball side going to see a game in Duke,
hmm
you
Well, see
know.
that. Yeah, I would think the basketball thing about just in terms of where, yeah, like that kind of thing. But if that's not your cup of tea, then that's not your cup of tea.
I certainly it's nothing that I'm gonna plan a special trip for.
Mhm.
If I was in a city and someone was like, "Oh, we're going to go to this college game or this minor league game. Do you want to come?" I'd never say no,
Yeah.
but it's not something I'm planning on my own. I'm not building a trip around some minor league matchups or college matchups.
You're not gonna try and go up and see. I don't even know the name of the place in Syracuse where they play the AAA at. But
Oh, say no, not Salem Field. I know where the Mets play. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's not not something I would ever go out of my way to do.
nor should you. Um, Nor should you. All right, so back to March 26th and Mr. Peralta. Uh I did want to go through the six, so I'm gonna start at the top. And I will say I don't think POBO, President of Baseball Operations, David Stearns, would have traded for Freddie Peralta without the intent to resign him. I could, that's the short version of it, but I'll ask you your thoughts on Freddie, both this year and his potential future with the New York Mets.
So I'll admit, right before we signed Peralta, I was very down on the offseason. I'm very upset about losing Alonso. I was very upset about losing Diaz. Um, to a lesser extent, Nimmo, but Alonso and Diaz were the big two. And when we got Peralta, I was a little rejuvenated. Then, when you indicated that he would be the first topic of conversation yesterday, I did a little bit of a deeper dive on his numbers. You know, they're not ace of the rotation numbers.
No.
And that concerns me. I know the game has changed from, when we grew up, but even in the last 3 years when Peralta's made a name for himself, he averages less than 6 innings a start, and his postseason numbers are mediocre.
hmm
And
I'm not arguing, but yeah, I mean,
that's
but
that's
yes,
that's what you. In fact, I'd say for the last 5 to 10 years, whenever there's been a rumor that, oh, the Mets are interested in so and so, whoever that person is, the first thing I do is go look and see how they performed in the post, because ultimately
interesting.
that's what matters, you know. And if a guy's going to hit 60 home runs,
But
that's great. But if he's going to go 1 for 20 in the LCS and we lose,
but
um,
you have to get to the postseason to be
you
able
do.
to put up postseason numbers. And
Agreed.
and what I believe that between the thought of having to get there and the other part of it, which I don't think they get enough credit for, and by they I mean the front office for the Mets, is they were able to trade, two top 20, top 25 prospects for Freddie Peralta and remain in the top 10 of as far as systems are concerned because they've got other players that they've got coming up and coming in. They've got people. I was hearing this on the Mets pod on SNY that they were able to, these are 13th and 14th round picks, low round people that
Mhm.
they were able to get and build up through the system and then be able to use to trade. Like that's the front office that David Stearns and Steve Cohen have put the money into, and that's why I'm willing to stand behind what they're doing. And if David Stearns, if POBO thinks that Freddie Peralta's the man, he's also seen him since jump. I mean, this is a guy he got from the minor leagues way back before, and had him in Milwaukee and watched him come into what he is. I also think Freddie Peralta's not going anywhere, and I'm stepping on you, but I think he's not going anywhere because I read somewhere, I can't remember exactly, but it was he the when he was last in New York, they had to get like 40 different passes. And I want to say it was probably on Mets.com. It might have been the guy, but either way, he had to get like 40 different guest passes because he had so many different family members that are in the Bronx because that's where all his people are. So he wants to be in New York.
Which is good, which is what we need. But at the end of the day, I do need my number one starter to consistently pitch into the seventh inning.
I don't a I don't think he's your number one starter. I think he's your solid number two for the next, because I feel if I don't know anything, but but this is this year, and which is I can easily transition to number two, which is
No,
he's your number two because everybody's already got Nolan McLean as the number one, as the greatest starter in the history of starting baseballs and pitches and everything like that. And I'm all for it. But here's my hot take. I'm gonna wait for more than 8 starts to crown him my number one starter.
oh,
Granted,
1,000%. I,
granted, sorry, I'll just say this because I looked up and found some numbers. Uh Skeens,
yeah,
who's going to be the number one starter for Pittsburgh in his first 8 starts, if compared to McLean. McLean. I'm gonna mess up his name 8,000 times. I'm just gonna call him Nolan. It's gonna be
McLean's
easy.
numbers are better.
See, but there's well, yeah, no. Skeens has got
Slightly,
a
but
Skeens has got a
they are better than
2.14.
Skeens. But
Skeens has got a 2.14. McLean's got a 3.06. Skeens has got 61 strikeouts. McLean's got 57. They're comparable.
I think McLean's got one more win. I think
He's
that's
got
where
one, but I don't count wins. He's got nothing to do with wins. He kept the team in the game, but he didn't score the
correct.
runs. He could have lost. I watched Jacob deGrom lose a lot of games
I
where
watched
he,
Jacob DeGrom lose a lot of games, 1-0 for us. So
he
yeah,
good God. Uh
I
yeah.
was fortunate enough that my travels had me in New York, and I was at McLean's major league debut that Saturday afternoon in at Citi Field. Um, it just worked out that way. It wasn't
Yeah.
a special trip or anything, and he was electric. He was fun to watch, and I definitely have high hopes for him. So I am hoping he can put together a 26 season like he did at the end of 25.
So if the belief is, and everybody seemingly is on board with McLean as the one and Freddie Peralta as the two, then isn't that a good 1-2 right there? And with that being in mind, so how many innings per start are you expecting out of McLean?
I'm of the belief that if you want to be a starting pitcher in the major leagues, you need
Hmm.
to be able to get through 6 innings.
Like you're
Uh,
preaching to the choir, but please continue.
because just and I know the game's not that built that way anymore, and there's so much reliance on the pen, but God, look what it did to the Mets last year. You could even to a lesser extent argue in 22, as we got into the to that stretch run in September and into that series against the Padres, having a exhausted bullpen.
Let me let me ask let me ask you this as a knowledgeable Met fan who watched that team last year. How it doesn't get credited as far as I'm concerned, but losing Max Kranick in like May or June because he was basically Trevor Williams. He basically was it
Yes.
was him, Brazaban, and Jose Buto. Between the three of them, they were if they could only get through 4.5, they got you to the seventh inning.
they
And
they
and
did.
and he was and
And I'll tell you exactly when it fell apart. It was a Wednesday afternoon game in June, and that's when Senga got hurt.
I was
Okay,
gonna
but
say,
we
yeah,
still ended up winning
yes,
that game. Then
but
we were off on Thursday, and then that Friday we opened a home series against Tampa, and Holmes was pitching, and he was pitching great, and we were up 3-1 or 4-1, and he had a low pitch count, and Mendoza took him out after five instead of stretching him to the sixth like normal, and he had the pitch count to do it. And whoever they brought in blew the game. Then we got swept by
because
Tampa, and the rest of the season was not the same. And I know it goes back to that Friday game, and I just feel like you need to get the most out of your starters. And
yes,
to me, that's that's got to be 6 innings. It just has to be. And
okay,
so, and part of the reason why I feel like teams can't get their start to the sixth inning is they're trying to be too fine with, especially with two strikes. So now you turn a four pitch at bat into an eight pitch at bat because
they're
you're
not
trying to be
attacking
too
the
fine,
zone.
and the good hitters can foul off
Yeah,
those pitches, and you might still get the outs. And
I
you,
think. Oh no, I agree with you, and I think the from what I've read and listened to and everything like that, and let the it's spring, so I get to be the absolute optimist believer because that's the
Mhm.
whole point of spring when it comes to a baseball season. I'm going to believe that the reason why Stearns let because he's now the pitching coach here now.
Oh,
Hefner.
Hefner.
The reason why he let Hefner go is because the Mets pitchers, first off, the Mets pitchers consistently got to two strikes and then consistently didn't put people away because,
Correct.
like they said, they were pitching around the edges and everything like that. And I'm going to go with the belief in optimism, optimism row that that was something Hefner had preached because it had been like that way for the last, I don't know, 3, 4 years, which kind of matches with Hefner being the pitching coach. Um,
I agree. I will say this:
with these new pitching
the
coach, it's going to be people attacking the zone, blah blah blah. But this is also, once again, it's March, so
here's the one thing based on that approach that I think is going to be very different is a pitcher can no longer nibble because in the past, if you nibbled, you would get the hitters who would try to protect the plate and maybe foul things off. And if you got lucky and you nibbled, you might get that pitch. You have the right umpire, you're going to get that pitch. Now with the ABS and the challenge system, nibbling's not going to help you because even if the ump gives you that pitch, a tap on the helmet, that pitch is going to be a ball.
I think I
And
really
I think
think
that's going to really have to
I
change with two
truly
strikes the
believe
pitcher's approach to putting away a hitter.
I don't think you're going to get as many challenges as you think. As far as I'm concerned, as a team, you only have two.
Yeah, correct.
And the only people that can do it is the catcher, the pitcher, and the batter, right?
Yep.
And the batter is going to have about 2, 3 seconds. It's not going to be all day.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get any type of thought from the bench or anything like that. You can't turn around and look or anything. You got to know it. So how many of those players, because you only get two, do you think have the courage to know that I think it's a strike, I think it's a ball, but I'm also hitting 240. And I just got up here the other day. Do I have the balls to go, no, that was a ball and it not be a ball? And now I've cut my team down one of those challenges. That's what I think
I'm,
everybody
I'm curious.
happen freely. It cannot be that free because there's going to be certain players where the manager's going to go, you cannot decide if you do not have ABS rights. So you're either going to get up there and hit or you're going to come back to the dugout because you're not tapping on your head. There's
But
going to be
two
that.
2 weeks into spring games, 2 3 week whatever we are, the first numbers I saw on overturns is over 50%.
Yeah, I'm not saying the system doesn't work. I believe it's going to work perfectly. There's going to be a lot of, you watch baseball as much as I do. A lot of those right down the middle where it's the first back in and it's right down the middle and the umpire calls it a ball. I know you saw that one where it was easily a strike, but the umpire just called it a ball.
I did
Those are
see
going to
that
get
one.
called certainly, but once again, this is spring. Come,
Correct. So it
come
doesn't matter if
April,
you're wrong.
yeah, everybody can. No, it doesn't matter if you're wrong. Everybody can tap now. It's spring. Come April 1, that's not going to be the case.
True.
It's going to go back to being, once again, do I have the courage? Do I have the right? Has my manager told me I can even challenge this? The
I'm
pitcher,
just curious to see more if it's going to change a pitcher's approach with two strikes. And I'm in a way, I almost hope it does. I hope it forces at least our pitchers to go after guys
as a
and
former catcher, go ahead. I hear what you're
yeah, and
saying, but
try to keep that pitch count down so you can get to the sixth, so you can pitch into the seventh and manage that pen a lot differently than it's been managed for the past 5 6 seasons.
all right, so I'm gonna race through. Well, I'm not gonna race through, but I'm gonna basically ask quickly on the next one because I think it's an either or. Sean Manaea, uh, injured last year. He was never truly healthy. So last year was a complete. Uh, do you think he can refine the arm angle that he used in the second half of 2024 that got him the 3-year contract?
I think he can. I'm very high on Manaea. I've heard him speak about how he approaches games, how he approaches when he does not pitch well, and he seems to be very studious in correcting anything that might be causing him to, give up a home run or walk too many guys. He's always looking to fix his game. So I think if he's healthy, I'm actually expecting big things out of Manaea this year.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold you to that because the exact same thing could be said for Kodai Senga, and you have to give me a time because I think he's the most decisive player on this roster. Because when healthy, he's proven to be completely worth his 5-year, $75 million contract. He's got 2 more years at $15 million, and there's an option for 2028. Tell me why he's not wearing orange and blue for the next 3 years.
So I'm definitely going to disagree with you. I am not high on Senga, and I'll tell you why. Because his only measure of success is to get people to chase. So it's almost an easier approach if you're the offense to wait him out. To wait him out. Don't swing at that ghost fork. Okay. I know we gave him a lot of money, and I know this is probably not a popular opinion.
A lot of money. Since when is $15 million a year for a starting pitcher a lot of money?
Well, that's
What about
true. Because,
we
but let me tell
just
you
gave,
what
we
I would
just
do with
gave
Senga.
Manaea 25 million
Yeah,
for
I would
half of
put. I would
2024?
personally. I think Senga's more effective out of the pen.
No. Everybody keeps on saying that. And if he's not right from inning one, which he's not, let me rephrase that. He's not ever really good in the first inning. After he gets going, he's good going. And
Yes, but here's
so
why I like Senga for the sixth or seventh. Okay, because
mm,
at that point in the game, especially if the game is close, the batters A aren't expecting him to come in. Okay, and B, their batters are less patient later in the game. And yeah, his ghost fork is nasty. It's nasty. Okay, I've watched it. I've seen it. I'm like, wow. But if you lay off because you know it's coming,
you
then
can know
that's
it's
what
coming
drives up
all
his
you
pitch
want.
count
You can know it's
and
coming
makes
all
him
you
not
want.
effective. But
He's
throw him in the seventh inning, and now you're the offense. You don't know if he's coming in today, so you haven't prepared. And if we're up by 1 or 2 runs, well, the offense is pressing a little more. They're not going to wait out the walk. They want the late inning home run. They're going to chase. And I personally think he'll be very effective as the bridge to Williams.
he's the five. He's going to be the fourth year of a 5-year contract. It's this
Mm-hmm.
year, next year, and the option for 2028. In the first 3 years, the first season, he was a top five Cy Young. That's a fact. That's
Yeah.
exact what he did. His first season, he was top five Cy Young, right? The next season, he was injured. When he last year, until that moment, which you so perfectly described, he was like 10-2 with a two with a he was on the same track. He was going to start the All-Star game. He was going to be the best representative of the All-Star game. He was pitching that good. Why is everybody suddenly just throwing all that out the window? When healthy, he's Cy Young type material. Why are you not willing to at least let him try being healthy? That's what I'm so
I guess
confused.
I'm looking at 2025.
Mhm.
I'm looking at 22 games, 113 innings.
Once again, was he injured or was he healthy?
No,
Because once
2025 he was healthy,
and
right?
so
He was
he was
he was
he was
healthy
healthy. He was healthy
up.
until that point, and then he got injured, and then he was rushed back because he was trying to brought back in the same way Manaea was rushed back to try and get some pitching because we had so much blah blah
Two.
blah blah blah.
All right, so I'm looking at his splits, and from April 1st to June 12th,
Mhm.
um, he did have a couple of sixes. He had 1 7. I mean, he had 1 4 inning game. But you're right. When he came back on July 11th, he only got to the fifth inning three times, and
Yeah,
most of
no.
those starts were 3 or 4 innings. So okay, I could, and then they shut him down in after August
because he
31st.
wasn't healthy. Because he wasn't healthy. He's like he's like a porcelain flower. If it only it's a blooms for one little thing, and if you get it while it's blooming, it's fine. But if there's any little thing, he's fragile. I'm
He's
not
very
trying to defend him as being any as this great structure or anything like that. When he's healthy, he's great. He's also $15 million. We gave Sean Manaea,
25.
who you expect to come back and be a good pitcher if he gets an arm angle right. We gave him 25 million because of a second half one season. The first half of the season he was okay. It was the second half of 2024 he was great.
Correct.
For that he got 25 for 3 years. And you guys, this is 15 million. Why are we trying to throw away a great contract like that? That's what I'm trying to say. We're talking about money. Everybody wants to be an accountant, even though we finally got the billionaire. We've
Mhm.
got the rich guy. He's our guy. He's going to spend. Why are we trying to throw away a $15 million a year contract? It's the
Okay,
best contract.
I could stand corrected on Senga. I just,
I wasn't happy with what he came back with either, but he clearly wasn't healthy because even when he went away, it was like, yeah, he'd be better off in the minors. He's not healthy. He's not any good. Sean Manaea was trying, but he still wasn't.
right.
All
We
right. So
probably
that's,
screwed up by not bringing up McLean and Tong in July.
well, it didn't, but if you it's bringing kids up into that kind of situation and you never know what you're going to get. And,
Right.
it's a whole different thing. So that's one, two, three, four. I'm gonna skip the kid because we already left with the one kid, and I'm going with the six starters because the number five is Clay Holmes.
To me, Clay Holmes, if you were talking to me last May, I would have told you that Clay Holmes was, the best pitcher that we added to our staff. And then by August, I was ready to run him off the team. So I,
If I
again,
might
it
be,
just,
he led the team in wins last year, didn't he?
yeah, I mean, it just when he got to the point where he couldn't give you length.
Yeah,
And then every day we were bringing in guys who are overworked out of the pen.
yeah.
And maybe if they go with the 6 man rotation, that
If you
might
go,
alleviate some of that and we'll
but
get
if
more
you go with the
innings.
six man, do you get more innings out of Clay Holmes than the six man? I don't know if it's I see that's the thing. I never it's it's almost as if the injuries, I feel like the injuries kind of shut it down last year. 2024, it was able to kind of get to where you got some starters that gave you some length. You know what I mean? As we kind of got deeper into the season. But last year it was you never got through it. And because they leaned on Buto and Braziban and Kranik for such a length of time into the season, when they got hurt, the other pitching didn't have anything, and it was a crapshoot going through. So
Yeah.
Clay
Well,
Holmes, is he what? Is he you see him as your starter? Do you see him? Everybody's talking about that. Does he slip back into the roles? He become Trevor Williams from a few years back when he was the guy.
I wouldn't be I feel like if we're going to have the same kind of issues with our starters, where we're lucky to get them through five, then I feel like we need a guy who twice a week can pitch the sixth and seventh innings effectively. So maybe that's the role for Holmes, you
Wow.
know, who's going to come into a close game. If our starters did a great job and, we're looking at a, 2-1 or a 3-2 ball game after five and our starters at 90 and we don't want to push them. I feel like twice a week, then give me the guy who's going to do the sixth and seventh. And I could see that being a guy like Holmes because you could stretch him out. Then if it's a day you're planning on doing that with him and maybe the starter struggles a little more and you have to pull him through four, all right, then you probably could
That's
get 3 innings out of Holmes and
that's what
not do any damage.
well that's what Tobias Myers is for this
That
year.
is
That's
what
the other
well,
guy.
If the
So,
entire rotation is going to struggle, then maybe you need Holmes to do that 2 days a week, and you need Myers to do that 2 days a week.
well, I mean, that is questioning on this whole thing. I've listed six. The last person is actually the longest tenured Met on the
Peterson.
roster so far. Yeah, David Peterson. It's it's a career 4.12 ERA with a 1.37 whip.
Mm-hmm.
There's always flashes. So with as the sixth name that I've listed on this, we've gone through six different names. Is this the year for David Peterson? Is this the year?
God, it has to be. I mean, look, I'm obviously biased towards left-handed people.
Hmm.
Obviously, I think left-handed people are the best people in the world. So I always give lefties a little more patience because naturally I think their stuff is better. There's just something about his movement. I mean, I look at what Peterson did in the 24 post, against the Brewers and against the Phillies. He got some big outs in those series. Um, uh, I,
Out of the pen, I thought at one point, didn't he?
yeah, both out of the pen.
So
I mean, he
would
closed.
you
He
want to
closed
try
Game
and
Three. He came in after Alonso hit that home run, and he is the one who got us through the bottom of the ninth in Game Three.
would you
Uh,
want him to put would so I guess the question is, would you rather overall, would you rather see a six-man rotation with the six that I just named, or would you hopeful that someone gets squeezed into that middle area with Tobias Myers?
I would want somebody to be in the middle. And I heard a guy, I think it was a guy on SNY the other day, and he had a very good point about a 6-man rotation. Is is if you do a 6-man rotation and you put the guys in that routine, you have one less guy in the bullpen. And if your 6-man rotation is going to routinely give you 5 or 6, you don't have as many arms in the bullpen to get you through an entire week's worth of games.
I'm gonna say on that same point, you're also then miss your your starter, your best starter is missing at least two starts in that way because he's not coming around in the same
Correct.
rotation. You're not getting your best starting pitching as much as possible. So it's ideal is the five-man rotation.
Ideal.
So
And I'd rather have two guys, especially, a guy like Myers versus pick any one of those guys, whether it's Senga, whether it's Holmes, whoever it is, who's that sixth and seventh inning guy twice a week, gives you a different look than what Myers gives you. Myers is going to come in and throw hard, you
oh,
know,
let me
whereas
run you
any
my
of the other
phone.
guys who get squeezed out, they're going to approach the sixth and seventh like a starter. They have 3 or 4 pitches in their arsenal. So as a batter, you don't know what to expect. And
It's
of course, for all these guys you mentioned, you didn't mention Jonathan. You didn't
I
mention
didn't
Christian Scott.
because I Christian Scott and Joe Tong because they'll be in Syracuse, which is a stadium that you haven't been to, and I'm going to exit there because it's spring. It's still March and 3 weeks away. Decisions haven't been made yet, so we can discuss that when decisions are. But
Right.
I've made the decision to exit here, as always, with a numerical trivia question. We were talking about David Peterson, and you kind of touched on it. He wasn't great in 2023, but he started 2024 on the injured list, and he starts his first start in 2024 comes 2 days after Memorial Day and it's a service. He's serviceable until August 14. You're looking up the stats on it, then you're kind of throwing it away. But he starts a 5 game stretch where he throws five quality starts, pitching into
Mm-hmm.
the seventh inning. If you don't know what a quality start is, it's basically
Right. Three
pitching
innings, 6 innings, 3 runs or less.
exactly.
Yeah.
That stretch is he would finish the year 10-3 with a 2.90. And that was the flash that I mentioned earlier of David Peterson. He's finally going to be the guy. But the number I'm asking for is how many quality starts did David Peterson have in the 2024 season?
The 2024 season.
Yeah,
Without looking it up.
without looking it up.
All right. So, I mean, he had 21 starts that year. Let's take a guess and say that he had 17 quality starts out of 21.
17 is the number. Thanks for listening. However, whether it's on Spotify or Pandora, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment or review. You can watch and comment about every episode at youtube.com/ at Terminal Pod. It's the channel for all your questions. The answer for tonight's trivia question will be in the description for the episode. I'll be back soon enough, hopefully with something better to put down. Josh, thank you very much. Hopefully, we can talk after you've reached the Club 124. And
It would be my pleasure. This has been a lot of fun.
thank you very much. Take it easy on your life's highway, and everybody have a good evening.